It's good to be here with you again.
Again.
Yeah, and I had fun with you last night.
Oh, it was
Harry
so fun.
Potter trivia at the Coterie.
Mm-hmm.
That was wild. How many people do you think were there?
Well, there were 30 teams, and you couldn't have more than 6, but they were packed, like nut to butt.
Over 100 people.
Oh, for sure.
It was fun. People were in costumes and they had wands and
I was people.
yes, you guys had amazing costumes.
Yeah. I brought a top hat. Wasn't even going to wear it. I brought it in case someone wanted to participate in the dress up.
And they did.
Yeah. And
That was cool.
I brought a faux fur shrug as well. And I thought that was top notch. I did have everything on at one point. So I had this long black velvet dress and then my Slytherin robe because Team
You're
Slytherin.
Slytherin. Yeah, right. You're Malfoy.
I'm not Malfoy.
Oh,
I'm in the house of Slytherin. And so are you.
Oh, that's right.
So we have to be proud of
You
our
just had
house.
his wand.
No, I had his dad's wand.
Oh, okay.
My friend gave it to me, and I was like, absolutely. And he was the one I think that had a huge mental illness, during the last portion. He was a complete asshole, and then kind of went insane. So I was like, woohoo, yeah, thanks. You know me so well. Out of all the wands.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it chooses you.
Yeah. One chooses the wizard. So, yeah. But it was super fun. But I had it all on, and I realized that so it was actually kind of cooler in temperature.
Outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so inside it was a little cooler too, so it felt really good. So I had all my stuff on, and then more people started showing up in
Little
that body
furnaces.
heat. Yeah. Started, and I'm like, man, I don't know if this fur shrug's gonna make it. Not with all this velvet. Velvet's very warm.
Yeah.
People don't realize a good velvet, it could be like a thinner type of velvet, but that'll do it to you.
Yeah, it does. It's hot.
Yeah. I love
Pretty
it.
though. I love velvet.
A lot of
Got a lot of velvet in here.
Yeah, a lot of my friends don't fuck with the velvet. They're just they can't touch it, which is weird. I think velvet is kind of like cilantro.
It bothers people.
Either you fucking love you some velvet or you hate it. There's really no, I've never met a person that's oh, velvet's okay. Either you are just completely obsessed with velvet.
It seems
or
strange
you
to me
can't
that people
stand it.
can have an aversion to velvet, to
It's
a
a
fabric.
texture thing. And I think cilantro is the same now. I think that works differently, texture and actual taste, but it's a scent, so we'll go with it.
Yeah,
But
it's got to be similar.
I could eat a cup full of cilantro on any
Yuck.
meal at any point, and I know you hate it.
It doesn't taste like food to me. It immediately tastes like some sort of chemical or surfactant or I don't know.
Yeah, but there's something to that. That's really
Sure.
a thing.
Clearly you don't experience that also and still like it.
Yeah.
You're experiencing something else.
Yes, some of my friends said that, it tastes like chemicals, like you were saying. Some people say that it tastes like soap, it's very soapy to them, but it's all kind of around the same family of taste and
That's right.
taste bud memory. So it was
Weird.
Actually, I think we Googled it once, and it really was a thing.
That's because they messed up when they made the simulation we all live in.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's
Yeah.
a little error in the code. Cilantro.
Don't get me started on that.
Or a biological version of the same expression.
Yeah.
So what have you been thinking about lately? You're always thinking of something interesting.
I wanted to bring up, we were having a conversation with a newly married couple, and they're a little bit younger than us, and we like to do which is so the last podcast that you shared, there was a comment on there because I was reading the comments. I think it's fun to like read like what people say
Yeah,
about it and
is.
stuff. And someone's suggestion was, please, you and Dustin, will you please do like a podcast with couples and see? And I thought that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
So
bring them on. And
yeah, maybe we can have some couples come on here and we can have like conversations about things because
Yeah.
like we have said, now I don't want to forget what I was saying about the conversation we had with this couple, but like generally speaking, you and I have had conversations before. Sometimes when you live a life with someone and you're married to them and, you know, all this amazing, you know, like you just live your life. You don't realize that there are some couples in whatever capacity, gay, straight, you know, whatever, like your significant other is what I'm saying. Some people don't have conversations, I think a lot more than what we thought on the level that we do. Like we will just dive deep sometimes and talk for hours about just things of this world or you know, like different.
Yeah.
And I think that's like cool.
It's not necessarily that normal. I think that's why we do this, is because people have told us in the past, after some lives, they find it really interesting. They like listening to us, so.
Yeah. So we were having this particular conversation with this couple, and I wanted to express, I want to surround myself with significant others or couples, so people who have decided to be in a committed relationship. I want to surround myself with couples and groups of people that support each other. Because I feel like when you're single, you know, I feel like oftentimes when people are single, they're encouraged to go out and do all of these, like, yeah, you can do this, you can be anything, and we're gonna, you know, do that, and oh yeah, you should totally do. And then once people evolve into a certain relationship, like a relationship status where they decide to like fully commit to one another, there's this weird kind of thing that happens that I don't know if it's like a part of like an entertainment or some, I think it's supposed to be like maybe banter-ish type thing, where I feel like people like to belittle or make fun of or detach from their significant other or their partner or wife or husband or whatever. And it's like this, it's just not cool to me. I don't like the belittling or seeing that person as a competition, or, you know, I feel like there's a lot of support or power behind, yeah, well, fuck him, he's being an asshole, or he's
talking shit about
he's not good
your
enough for you.
husbands.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
remember that time when you didn't do the dishes and you you didn't even wash the plates off? Why does he do that? That's so dumb. I would never do that. Like almost like shortcomings or lack of doing something well and wanting to advertise that as like that's like something to enjoy in a group setting, where then the women will get with the women, or the men, or, you know, the friend with the friend. I don't even know. It's not even a gender thing, because I've seen it on many sides with people with many different lifestyle choices, that can kind of crawl or creep in. And I think it's fucking weird. And I really want to make a huge effort to, I mean, because obviously like relationships are work, and relationships take, especially long ones, to keep them. I mean, you and I, we haven't had like the perfect relationship, and we've had struggles and whatever, but like I think that's an understanding, and we still choose to live this life together. And so I feel like, if anything, I need friendships and connections and relationships with people who want me to be happy and still in a committed relationship, to encourage me to better my relationship, because that is what I so choose. And if I do find myself in a situation where I say something that might not be the greatest from from something I have to say about you. I want someone to lead me into a space of understanding you, or observe, like maybe like, okay, well, like,
Yeah, instead of hyping you up in negativity,
yeah,
like, yeah, I do know that. I've seen that on both sides of gender fences, and probably where there's no gender. Same thing. Like, it's easy to fall into the trap of blaming everything on your spouse and talking negatively about them, and yeah, maybe diminishing them, and then you get like sympathy from people, maybe, and that's kind of a reward, and then
mm-hmm.
you do it for them too, and then sooner or later you're just sitting around talking shit about the most important person in the world to you.
Right. That's exactly. I mean, I didn't really. It's such a.
And you're intentionally looking for the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to surround yourself with people that will support and encourage the person they're with, and they would expect that out of you too, and help you with that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not
That's
saying.
really insightful and very aware.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you want to do that? Obviously, you think it benefits you. Benefits.
Yeah. I think that maybe it's the awareness that the cup is half empty for me sometimes. And now I don't want to do it under some false, what do they call it? Like a spiritual bypassing. Like, people have problems. People need to be heard. People need to be understood. And sometimes people just need others to hold space for them to get something out. Right? Like, I'm not saying like everyone
Yeah.
just be happy all the fucking time. Like, if there are
No.
things that need to be discussed or addressed, I want to make sure that, like, but I also think too that like it takes a pretty special person, or it takes a person, no, I don't even want to say special person, someone who's had a lot of experience with like trials and tribulations and have overcome, like, sometimes, okay.
Well, I really deeply agree with you, and I think that's a great place to do it. I think it also extends into other parts of your life too, and it's a good place to practice it. I think so for a very technical reason. I think we know that venting is useful and good, and talk therapy can work in that way. But there's no evidence to suggest that complaining is useful. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that it's harmful. A complaint is just like an admission of apathy, forfeit. You recognize a problem, you won't do anything about it. But how do you tell the difference between a vent and a complaint is what I looked into a little bit.
I'm dying to hear this.
And it's you can designate the difference very clearly. One way is if you feel that you've been wronged and you deserve compensation in some way. It's definitely a complaint, and it won't serve you. And you can tell if you're doing that if you're casting blame. You can just vent the facts of unwelcome circumstances to somebody. I could just tell you a bunch of shitty things that happened to me. But things change a little bit when I start feeling like I'm owed something because of it.
Okay.
And there's somebody to blame. And why is that dangerous? Because it doesn't seem dangerous when you do it. Because maybe that guy was the asshole that cut you off and made you crash. But the problem with it is there's no way to cast blame without turning yourself into a victim. And you don't want to be a victim. It's a poisonous mind fuck that will just ruin you if you keep going down that path. So I try to be really careful about that. I still complain. It still happens. But if you're trying not to, be like, okay, hold on. I need to make sure what I do is I ask myself a couple of questions. Like, is there anything I should be taking responsibility for here? Right? Like, instead of complaining, did I put myself in that position? And is there anything I can do about it now?
Mm-hmm.
If both of the answers to those questions are no, then there's no sense in thinking about it anyway. You can't control anything, and you can't learn anything from it. So the only good option then is to let it go.
I would like to hear what you have to say about the victim narrative and what your opinion of that way of communicating or that way of perceiving your life, like, how does that?
I'm going to piss a lot of people off with that, but I want people to hear me out.
I have one too, but I want to hear yours.
I'm looking forward to yours. Do you want to do yours first?
No, I want you to do yours.
Well, the thing I know about the victim narrative is, as a person, you don't want that for yourself. Like, whatever you want to accomplish in life, however you want to feel, it probably sounds something like happy and accomplished, appreciated, skilled, successful. So there's a lot of these things you probably want to be. Victims can't do any of those. Like, it will corrode what you think, and then subsequently what you say, and then subsequently everything you do will all start being corroded and corrupted by a narrative of you can't do it, you don't like it, something's going to go wrong, and it's not my fault, so now I can't take responsibility for anything. So there's a really important designation to make. Culpability and responsibility. Fault. Culpability is like fault. Is it your fault? And are you responsible for it? Well, sometimes it's both, but sometimes it's not. The real thing to notice is it doesn't matter if you're culpable. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. Maybe it's not. There's a lot of bad shit that will happen to you that's not going to be your fault. But the only way you can do anything about it is if you can take responsibility. Then you own it. You know, somebody stabbed me in the back and the knife's stuck in there. Okay, fine. It's not my fault, maybe. But what do? Just keep walking around with that knife in my back? Or I'm like, okay, I have a knife in my back. You know what I mean? I have to take responsibility for it now and fix this problem, even though it's not my fault.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because I was like, well, that's not, you didn't do that. Someone else did. But for you to say, okay, I am responsible for the knife in my back. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Like, yeah. Not that I did it, but that it's there and I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you spend all of your time and effort, well, Buddha said it. If you spend, what did he say? Don't be like the man who refused to pull out the poison arrow until you learn everything about the person that fired it. Like, it's not helping you to blame the guy that stabbed you and to think about how terrible that is and to make a really eloquent complaint about it and tell a lot of people about it. Collect a bunch of sympathy. You're doing all that work. You still have a damn knife in your back.
You're bleeding out.
Yeah. Like, obviously that's a very simple, obvious example, but we do it with psychological and emotional and relationship things all the time. And it's very useful to be scared to death to be a victim. And the part that pisses people off probably is my opinion is, if you can hear me talking right now, you're not a victim. You really want to start looking at yourself differently if you feel like you're a victim. If you're alive, I feel like the only real victims are dead. Now, people have been victimized, sure, in the past. But as soon as it's over, I'm not saying it's easy to get over being victimized, but I am saying as soon as it's over, now it's your responsibility to pull that knife out of your back. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. No one else can do it for you. You can live with it your whole life, or you can die, or you can take responsibility for it and get it done. That's how I feel about it.
That's interesting. I feel like your understanding of it, like, you know, when you think of like when somebody says something and then like where it kind of is at, like, I feel like that is such a broad, like kind of looking.
It's very logical, very void of emotion. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mine is my
That's
opinion.
My weakness.
Yeah.
I want to hear the sensitive side.
Oh, stop.
It's not bad. It's just different.
Okay. So my opinion of why people use a victim narrative is much different. And as I was thinking about it, oh gosh, what was it, like a couple of days ago, I kind of started giggling because my opinion of the victim narrative has a little bit of victim in it, but then that also comes to responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like me complaining about people complaining.
Right.
I don't really. I just worry about people, don't we?
Yeah. And honestly, it's just fun. Like, it's fun to discuss and see. But okay,
Yeah.
this is my take on it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I think there are lost studies and practices, and our society has designed this very powerful movement of doing things, build, that we've forgotten a lot of these practices and ways to sit with the self. And I do feel like because those have been lost through generations of I'm talking about practices to find and sit with yourself, like the soul, the spirit, the inside of you. Like, a lot of people that I talk to, and I do, I'm a yoga instructor now, which is kind of fun.
Licensed.
Yeah. So I've done these classes, and I can remember.
I've taken your class, by the way. You are extremely good at it.
Thank you. Well, okay. It is so awkward and unnatural almost. Like it's like this very new thing to close your eyes and to come into yourself. So I feel like with those types of practices and just the feedback that I get from people is that there is a lacking way of coming into yourself. And so if you don't really know the self, then you don't have that confidence, and you need that reassurance or that validation or that support from other people. And a really gentle way of feeling connected to people is to feel loved. But I think we're getting it the wrong way. We want to feel heard. We want to feel seen. We want to feel loved. You know, for me, this is my opinion. I'm not like a psychiatrist, psychologist, philosopher, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, I'm not that. But what I'm saying, so many Harry Potter references, is what I'm saying is that, like, I think it's just a really unhealthy, toxic way of getting a quick, like, emotional hug.
Yeah.
To tell yourself that you're okay, because you don't know if you're okay. And when you want to connect to people, you want to feel that love and you want to feel that softness. And when you can apply something into a victim narrative, you are typically putting a sliver of something that might be a vulnerability into that. Like, for example, well, I drank too much and I was on a city bus and there was a man and he touched my leg and it made me feel very uncomfortable. I admitted that I drank too much and that I was in this state by myself, and then someone came in.
Damn. It's like we're next to a drag strip or something.
Did you fart? Excuse me, I had a little gas. Yeah. No, but like, do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Because you can kind of
So you're saying that it's possible that the reward is so good from being a victim that some people can go down that path where they imagine themselves to be a victim.
Well, it's a softened way to say something that
instead of saying what, like I was scared and I could have.
Well, I drank too much.
Okay.
The responsibility that I have is that I was not as capable as what I should have been because I drank too much. But that was a flicker of the story, but it was added into it. So I think that the design of the victim narrative is because people do want to say some things that maybe are not so beautimous about themselves, but because something came, like an outside force came in, they can still communicate that they were in a situation with not the proper tools
thinking it's
and
a call
mindset.
For help of some kind.
I really do.
I see.
I do.
I would have missed that forever. I don't think that way. Well, that's probably true. And I'm glad you said that because now I know that. And I'll
Well,
never forget that the rest of my life.
it's a softened way, and really, like, I did not realize too that, to take responsibility for the things that I can control now and today is powerful, and it actually feels really good. And to try and let go of things from your past that you weren't responsible for. Like if someone did harm to you, but
You mean it wasn't your fault?
Yeah, when you think of like bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
If you tap into yourself and you feel that light that is inside of you, and you sit with that for 30 seconds a day for a week, and then you change it into a minute a day, and you start doubling, okay, 2 minutes. I'm just going to sit by myself with my eyes closed. I'm going to listen to my breath, feel my breath going inside and outside of my body, inhale, exhale, and just like a simple fucking thing like that.
Yeah.
Draws you into an understanding of the light that is inside. And I know that that is true because I have felt otherwise, because I did not know. And like you just said, like, I wouldn't have thought about it that way. And I'm glad that I heard you say that, and I will not forget about that. If you don't know something different, you are going to continue to do the softness of the victim narrative. But once you realize and you experience the power of taking responsibility, like with the understanding that bad things happen to good people, and you've tapped inside of yourself and you realize that there is a light that shines so bright inside of yourself, and that you are worthy, and that you are whole, and that you are learning and growing and bettering yourself every day to understand more, that also brings a stillness inside of you. And when you have that stillness, you can become more present. And when you're present, then you can hear more, you can receive more, because you are here in the space and tuned in, because you have practiced sitting with yourself. And then you can learn new things, like maybe the victim narrative looks like this to this person. Maybe it looks like this to this person. Now, how does it feel to me?
That's what matters, right? Yeah. I agree. That's really smart. Certainly, from my personal experience, any practice in like awareness and presence always makes me stronger and more powerful to do those things. Which people don't think of it that way. They don't think like meditating and being aware of yourself and feeling your body and stuff. They don't think of it as a type of strength, but it certainly is. Mm-hmm. Because when something bad happens to me, I can go there and look at it objectively and say, okay, what is this? What do I do about it? Which is kind of what you kept saying, bad things happen to good people. And I think it's important to recognize, too, this really neat idea that you don't, making judgment calls, that's what a bad or good is. You're making a judgment. Are very, very difficult to make. You can say, and it can be factually true, that it makes you feel bad. But it's very difficult to make an actual, this is bad judgment. Because you don't have all of the information yet. You certainly don't have the information of the future. If you drop your phone and it cracks on the ground, seems bad, feels bad. You bend over to pick it up, and instead of crossing the street, and there's a terrible accident right in front of you that would have killed you, right? The God works mysterious ways idea. If you knew that before you dropped your phone, you'd have been like, oh my, thank God I dropped my phone. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been a bad thing. It would have been a great thing. You trade your phone for your life any day. And there's a lot of things in life.
Well, some people would.
Yeah, hopefully you would trade. Like, hopefully you would trade.
Wish
your phone
it would have
for
been me.
Yeah, maybe. But I think of that too. Like when I become presently aware, like you're talking about, except you say it in a really cool way. I feel the light inside, and I'm at peace. I remember. Strangely enough, that's the thing I usually remember is I don't know. I don't know the outcome of this or that. I can't tell this is bad or good. I can tell how it feels. I can observe that. But I don't know for sure. Because, you think about it like, what are your best strengths and most interesting things about you? Where did they come from? all the things that you would have said were bad. Adversity you faced, poor situations you got in, bad things that happened to you. Those things also built your character, and you probably like those parts of your character. So were they bad? Well, at the time they felt bad, but they were actually good. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's useful for this conversation, but I like to remember that. If I can't decide if something's bad for sure, then I certainly can't be a victim of it.
Right. It leads me into another. So it can attach onto the whole victim narrative thing. What is cancel culture, and I think that there are like what's his name, Epstein, canceled. He needs to be canceled. Like the guy, or what's his name, like
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, cancel, absolutely. In my opinion, great move. Cancel culture should have called him out. That's crazy shit. Like, that's insane. You know what I mean?
I'm not
like,
sure the Facebook haters are what got him, but I know what you mean.
No, but what
justified.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is that the truth needs to be revealed on some of the dark shit that a lot of like high profile people are doing. Right? But I think that we are taking it a little too far on some things. Like, and I don't, and not that, okay, I take that back. It's not that we are taking it too far on some things. What I'm here to say, okay, specific example. So for example, there is a woman that is, she's a spiritual leader, healer. Like, she's a very, and she has like all of these exercises and practices, and she runs like this like facility where you can go and you can heal. I'm gonna tell you what, after she had a documentary out, so it was Teal Swan, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
she had that documentary come out, and she looks like
They made her look like a
crazy psycho. Psycho.
But I've heard her speak at length, and she is not. I mean, she might have bad ideas like we all do, but she's not that.
But when I was explaining this to you one day, you said something about genius and madness. What was it?
Well, you can't have one without the other. I mean, they run in some degree of parallel.
But that, if that was like a bumper sticker of sorts, like I could, like, that's what we have to understand, is that people who are creating life-changing things are still human beings. They are not going to be unassailable. Yeah. She probably does do some weird-ass shit. Yeah. But, like, cancel culture came for her, and yeah, like...
Does that negate any good ideas she's had, because she also has a bad idea?
That is exactly...
I still want all of her good ideas. I want to decide for myself if they're good.
I don't need what I'm saying.
Social media mob deciding for me. I don't need any mob deciding shit for me.
No, but when there is when there is the mob, sometimes you're like, well, I got a few tomatoes too. I could probably throw them at her. And then you just wipe away all the brilliant ideas. Like, but before this documentary, I would search her out and I would just listen to the things that she said, because she just has this strong,
extremely
insightful, her presence. Like, you can just tell that, like, she is a brilliant woman in certain things that she says and does, and her understanding of things. Now, I'm not trying to clone myself in her image. Like, it's not like, everything she says. But I think that is when you know that you have been practicing, because practicing knowing yourself and trying to grow in the way that is, because I can listen to somebody and decide for myself if I believe the same things they do or if I disagree, and I don't have to hate them for it.
Right. Yeah. You can still have a general level of respect until they do something to, deserve not getting respect. Sure. That's how it should be.
I've had like relationships where I've been in a relationship with someone, like friendship or whatever, and just shirt off my back, here you go, blah, blah, blah. But maybe there was a couple of months, couple of weeks, there was a couple of days, there was a moment. There could be just a moment where I kind of was an asshole, or I said something that I shouldn't have said.
They bailed.
And boom.
Oh, damn it.
Let's publicly write about what
really?
a
that far?
fucking dick you are, and how you know, and
that's so weak. But at least you got to find out that they weren't your friends.
Well, no. But I think that was a huge growing point for me, though, is because it bothered me so bad. And I would just talk about it constantly. I can't even remember the last time that I had even mentioned that situation in a general setting, let alone me when I was living in all these specific situations, because you know what? Your opinion of me is not my bag, baby. That's on you. Right. But I always heard people saying stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah. Your opinion of me is not my responsibility. But it was like fake it till you make it. I'm like, okay, I have to feel it at some point. If I say this over and over again. You were still
hoping deep down to get their approval, yeah.
No, but like, and also to believe that myself. I would say it because I wanted to believe it.
That has to happen first, doesn't it?
Like, you know how hard that shit was for me to constantly say that and I thought, well, Am I being unauthentic, or am I just trying to manifest a different, like, am I trying to reprogram myself? And so you kind of have that sort of question. And then it, like, you let go of that because you're like, I'm just living. I'm just visiting it. I'm not living in it, you know? And so then when you have that and you let it go and you're like, whatever. I'm going to feel this way because this is the way that I want to feel. And I know that it has to be possible. And then you feel that and you think to you, like when someone says something hateful or, like it happened to me right in the time when probably I needed it the most because I wasn't the strongest in my studies or practices of getting to know the self. And it didn't affect me near as much. It still affected me, but it was just kind of like a flicker instead of like a big punch in the dick. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't have a dick or balls, but I'm just imagining
it does hurt.
That it
doesn't just hurt like
hit you
locally. It makes your whole body and your soul hurt.
Well, because I kind of feel like if someone were to like punch me in my vagina, that pelvic bone, that would hurt.
I'm sure it would.
But I bet like if you had a dick, if I had a dick
sure
or balls,
I do.
it would probably hurt more. Because, like, you know, I can punch. If someone punched
no one's
me in the
ever going to
boob,
get to find out.
Yeah, if someone punched me in the boob, I'll be like, "Ow, that hurt." Or in my vagina, I'd be like, "Ouch." But like, I've seen really big men drop to their knees when they get hit in the balls.
You cannot strengthen
the penis.
You cannot strengthen your ability to withstand pain to that area. Everyone's the same in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got onto that.
No, because the feeling, like it's a very intense feeling.
It can be. Yeah.
Have you ever felt your heart break?
Sure, certainly.
Like you really, like you physically have felt like that's what heartbreak feels like. That my heart hurts and I can feel it like in my heart. Mm-hmm. Isn't that so sad?
It's an intense sensation. And then you can decide it's sad.
Yeah. Okay. I never thought about it like that, but yeah. God.
It's hard to not. It's hard to separate your decisions in your psychology from sensation, for sure. Mm-hmm. That is a difficult practice.
Isn't it crazy the things that we feel that that other people have felt before too? I forget what it's called, but it's like the understanding that every single person on the street that you pass or that you meet or that are just like in the background of your life and the way that you're seeing it, they have those feelings too. They've experienced intense feelings or melancholy feelings, or have had casual days or intense experiences or fear or anger, or, you know, all of these complicated or simple emotions or
seem
situations.
so weird and unique, and they're not weird or unique. Everybody has to, you know, all humans are the exact same kind of weirdo in that way.
Or that feeling where you get the lump in your throat. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Got a lump in my and like there are like, I'm not the only one. Someone has had that
Not even
exact
close.
feeling in your body, just with the lump in your throat.
And they lived.
And they lived.
And they smiled again.
And that could make me cry. That's good.
That's what you need to remember when you're going through those kinds of things. It doesn't help people to tell them, well, you separate your psychological decisions from your feelings. Like, it doesn't help anybody to say that, because you can't do it. But you can tell people, well, the oldest expression of that idea I remember is, this too shall pass. It's incredibly powerful.
One of our daughters were kind of going through some emotional things, and I was, you know, talking to her about it, and I said, well, she was talking about, she was very sad, you know, and I said, have you ever read like poetry or a book or watched a movie or listened to a song, and it just, you get this feeling deep inside that you know exactly how that feels, you know, and you can feel that song and how, you know, listen to the lyrics or to read the pages or, you know, line by line of the poetry, and it just comes through you and inside of you. It's because you're not the only one that's felt that way. And that's such a powerful and connected experience that you have with someone that you've never even met. They've felt that way. They've written that poetry.
That's crazy if you think about it.
Been the writer.
I forget that that's so insightful, because one time, like, I fully experienced that on LSD. Like, that's how it started. I was like, oh man, everybody feels the same thing that I do. And then it got deeper, of course, and it was like, everybody is the same person. We're all the same organism. We're one organism made of parts. There isn't even space between us. It just seems like there is. You know, start thinking of stuff like that, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't hurt anybody.
Well, when I was talking to her about it, she was like, like, you know, like it was like this. I love it when we have those, like,
She had a good response.
yeah, it was like a aha
on.
moment, like, whoa, boom goes the dynamite. Like, I've never thought, I'm like, you know, artists and like even like a lot of comedians, like, they are so funny because they have explored the shadows of themselves. And a lot of their, like, I don't even want to say coping, but maybe their expression is to, I mean, people do things for different reasons, obviously. So this is like a case by case thing, because everybody's just a little, you know, got their own thing and their own talents and their own, design for stuff. But like, what I think is really cool is that, it was a moment where I kind of thought to myself, damn, I'm really winning on this parent game, because I wish that someone would have told me that. Have you ever had like a parent moment where
you are so good at that? I'm so glad you're around to talk about feelings. I suck at that so much. You are so good at it. And you make it like engaging and entertaining and very relatable for our kids. I think it's cool. I would just look at them when they unload on feelings on me. I'm like, that is all unreasonable. That is not helpful, but that's all I can tell you. Maybe you should wait to tell me this.
Yeah, well.
Eat some ice cream, try it again. Do you mind if I take a pee break?
I would love. Do you want me to watch you?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. So during the pee break, we were kind of helping each other out on observations that we had, right?
Yeah.
So
I can't stop moving around because I hate sitting down. I'm going to make myself be good at this.
we can go somewhere for like 12 hours and you will not sit down.
Sitting
you are
down.
just a standing man.
It is the least comfortable position. I can lay, I can stand. I'd rather run than sit.
That's so crazy.
I'm comfortable
I
at a
could sit
jog.
for days.
I can sit for like minutes and I'm like, something's wrong.
I could sit here, but I do have a way bigger ass than you. So it's like I'm on a pillow. Like I just feel like
That's a good point.
like the chair is soft, so that's soft, and then my ass is ginormous, and so I'm sitting on two pillows.
Maybe we should do this podcast and I'll sit on your ass.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna sit on my ass for the next.
Yeah, for the next podcast. Not sure how we're going to do it.
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
I also am the one that edits these, so I happen to know when the camera's not going to be on me.
Yeah.
And that's when I try to do my wiggles out.
Get your wiggles out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you had given me some really great advice that I think that I'm definitely going to. Am I doing it right now? I'm thinking about it.
You just did it.
I just did it, didn't I?
Yeah.
As soon as I started, I was like, I'm doing it. Explain.
You're interjecting in the middle of your own thoughts instead of just finishing the thought and then talking about it, which is fine. If somebody's like really willing to pay attention, follow several lines of thought, I like it. But it does make it difficult when I try to make clips to put on social media. Like social media wants it to be like, well, shorts 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Wants like a short little clip. I'm like, well.
I have a dog. He is 7 pounds. His name is Carlos, and I love him. And he's little, and he pees on the floor.
Now,
that was a whole story.
Now let me tell you why I said that.
Yeah. So the reason why I said he pees on the floor.
Yes.
Okay.
Conversation's funny, isn't it?
Well, you learn a lot.
It's a real skill. Mm-hmm. I've noticed, how much better I could be after I watched myself doing it. Mm-hmm. There's one thing I was thinking about that relates to what we were already talking about. I grabbed this book this morning. It's one of my favorite books from when I was young, called Agony and the Ecstasy by Stone. I think Irving Stone. Story of Michelangelo. And the title itself struck me. It's like agony and ecstasy. It's like you have to have both. Like you have to do difficult things, and difficult things have to happen to you for you to appreciate the ecstasy of positive things and happy things. And we were talking about victim narrative earlier and stuff, and maybe there's a little bit of let's avoid anything that could feel bad all of the time. And modern technology is making that easier and easier and easier. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a really bad idea. Because if you're diminishing your ecstasy as well, right? Mm-hmm. The contrast is reduced.
Okay, so I'm going to just bring out the elephant in the room before you begin.
Okay.
That is a big ass. The pages are so old that they're brown.
It is old.
But like, okay, so this is probably 2 inches thick, dusty ass pages. There's no picture on the book. Like that. At what age did you look at this book and it's like, man, I want to dive into that? Because I never. Go ahead, answer.
It's 650 pages. I was in my 20s. I was 20. Oh, 19. I was 19. I lived in Detroit. And I got it from a bookstore. I still remember because they were throwing it out. Oh, look, there's a little picture of my dad in there.
Aw,
fishing.
Your dad.
Yeah.
So you went to a bookstore, and with all the books in there, you picked that dusty ass.
It was free. Yeah, the library discarded it because it got old.
But you really thought, like, I want to make this as clear as possible without sounding like a dick. You were a 20-year-old man living in Detroit.
Yeah.
And you decide, I'm going to pick up a
little
book.
Yeah, well, Yeah. I mean, I quit. I took a break in the middle of my English degree to go to Detroit to be in a band. So reading was definitely a regular thing for me. But I mean, don't judge a book by its cover.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, do you get what from I am not
don't
judging you.
see
I think
how.
it's great. I think it's hot. I think it's attractive. I love that you read books that don't have pictures in it. I think that's super hot. I really do. What I'm saying is that when I was like 19 or 20, I'm like, what is the cheapest amount of booze? Where is the fake ID? What shoes is going to match this outfit?
Sure.
And how drunk can I get before I have to be at work in the morning? That's where I was in my life. Well, I mean, I
did that when I was like 17 and 18. I grew up a little. I didn't really get into the bar scene until I was mid-20s. Right before I owned one, actually.
Okay. With going out and whatever aside, I have never in my life been to a point where I'm like, God, I need a good book. And then I would pick that one.
Yeah, well, there's steps along the way to get there, I think.
Yeah. Well, I read all of the Harry Potters. Once again, this is the third time we've finished Harry Potter's. I was very proud of that. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've read probably 2 books a month for the last year of my life.
Yeah.
Like I like to read books. But
you
what I'm saying,
prefer audio, right?
yeah, but what I'm saying is that that
I don't see why it's absurd. But I can tell that you do.
I need to know, is there in this podcast, is there a comment section where people could comment whether they okay.
They're gonna anyway.
So for people who do not see this on video, okay, or is this all video? I don't understand how this is even going to be out in the world. But if you can't see this fucking book, it's covered in dust. It's beat up. It's got the pages once were white. It is so old looking. The library, who is the epicenter, the main thing for books that are old. It even said, the library itself said, you know what? I think this one is a little too old for us. And so they sold it to this place.
Shows what they know. It was 25 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's still alive and still works just fine. How old is that book? Oh, I don't know. I got it when they were throwing it out. And that was when I was 20, so around 2000.
Okay, so it was old when we started. So this book is probably
copyright 1958. Published 61.
1958. So does that mean it was written in 1958?
That's when the copyright was approved. Okay. This one was printed in 61.
Okay.
This has been alive. Well, it's not alive, but it has been in existence since 1961.
Huh. Anyway, I'd like for you to continue with your story.
That was
sorry.
It. Yeah.
Oh.
The story is about Michelangelo's life. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate. It's, somebody's idea of what it was probably like. Mm-hmm. But that person's life was full of extreme adversity and difficulty, and he was victimized plenty of times, and he created some of the most beautiful art still to this day in the most difficult way. And it was just a really interesting way to read about a person, and agony and ecstasy do seem correlated. Mm-hmm. That kind of contrast, doing difficult things is important, is what I'm getting at.
Isn't that interesting? I read something the other day about someone had posted some sort of piece of writing that someone had, I don't know, they shared it. It said something like, in the society that we live in right now, there could be a person that has a talent of Michelangelo that, you know, they cannot spend years and years and years and years and years developing different pieces of art and whatever, like in creating like sculptures or paintings or whatever that looks to that specific person, but they're working at like a hardware store because they got to pay the bills. And they got to make sure that they're taking care of this, this, and this. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, and it might be, I don't know. It was a lot better than what I just
Sure, I know what you mean,
it.
though. Like, our culture doesn't accommodate or appreciate maybe that enough to where it, like, makes it easy, available for people to do stuff like that. And there is an argument to be made that during the Renaissance time, that's one of the most prolific art times in the history of mankind, is probably because it was much more culturally acceptable to just not go to work for 6 months and make a statue.
I think that if I won the Powerball, okay, you know how we always talk about, like, we don't even play, but like just saying if we happened to play one time and we won the Powerball and there was like, we get like $1 billion, we're like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Like what we would do with that if we were to have bought a ticket. And I've been telling you all these things that I'd want to do, but I just created something else. Okay.
Yeah. What was the last one? The Village?
Yeah, I wanted a tiny house village where I would just supply room and board for like psychics and tarot readers and holistic healers and preventative health care practitioners and Ayurvedic doctors. They could just come in this village and like Hogsmeade or whatever it's called. Harry Potter again. Can we call this one Harry Potter? Because it's happening for me. No, but it's going to, like all of these small villages in every major city. And you can just go and you can find answers to maybe alternative, like they say alternative ways, but like some of these things have been around for like thousands of years.
Alternative to Western and religion.
Well,
Organized.
Yeah, okay.
Alternative to going to church.
No, because I still tell people if you want to go to church, find all the
for
answers
that
that you possibly
specifically.
Can. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, if like whatever, everybody's welcome. We'll figure it out when we get there. There's obviously going to be a business plan, and I'll make sure that there's some sort of structure in this wild idea. But I've just added it on. There's more.
Oh my.
Okay.
All right, let's have it.
So, in every major city, there is a building. Like, remember when we went to Paris and there was that art building full of art? I mean, just all over the walls,
cool.
all
the
over
co-op.
the co-op.
Yeah.
I would set up co-ops for every major city in America to where all of these artists can come in and like paint or have design space or whatever, like whatever it is, and they need a space, you know, even if it's something where they would want like more privacy, or if they, because I hate to say it, but like French culture, like they respect the shit out of each other's stuff a lot more than what I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
Like
there'd be some asshole and they're tagging everything.
Yeah. Like spray painting like cock and balls like on somebody's work that they spent like 6 months. Yeah. You know, like we have no room for dickheads in the inn. Okay. So just move your ass over. But what I'm saying is that to have that space available for people and to be able to like to have that brick and mortar experience. You know, I love a good brick and mortar. Now, obviously, like online is like, it's pretty freaking awesome. Like when you can click that button that says, you're going to have this on this day. And you're like, yeah. Now, like sometimes they even throw in by 5 p.m. And you're like, even better. 4:59, I'm going to be calling because needs to be here, you know. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is...
a place you can go and touch and feel and look people in the eyes that maybe made it.
I love a good brick and
there's
mortar.
something to it, yeah. Mm-hmm. That building in Paris was incredible.
Oh, it was
and some of the artists were there, and you could just talk to them about the art they made.
And they're all different styles and all different processes. And, you know, it was such a cool collection of art and
So you would do that all over the country.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a cool thing to do.
And I would obviously, like, a big thing for me is like youth. I'd want to do something with the youth too.
Like what?
Activities or different creative experiences that kids could have for free. Maybe to influence them to be a part of the, like, I love the arts.
Get off the phone for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good for them.
Yeah, or kids that, you know, don't have phones, or they don't have, you know, need like an outlet, and they enjoy creativity or art or performance or whatever. It'd be really awesome to have like a after school, like for me it'd be like after school programs, because if their parents are going to be gone
sort of
anyways,
like the YMCA used to do with athletics.
Mm-hmm. But it would be all, I mean, obviously, I would have to have you take a look at this business plan, because I would want it to be like,
well, if you're
self-sustaining.
Yeah, that way it could last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For forever.
Yeah, but if you dropped
cool.
$1 billion on some stuff like that, you could probably get some other supporters to
sure.
join in too.
That's what I was thinking too, is that, you know.
You're not the only person, certainly, that appreciates how important art and culture is to a society. It's the heart and soul. Without it, we have nothing really.
But if we win in the Powerball, if we ever decide to play, if we win like over $1 billion, it brings me to my next question. Did you see where Oprah and The Rock were asking people for money to save Hawaii? And what did you feel about that? Because I'm dying to know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I intentionally practice not feeling anything when I see things. Just try to understand it. Mm-hmm. But I saw that some people lost their fucking minds over it. And then it made me think about it and rewatch it. And I was like, It's interesting that they are asking hardworking, broke-ass people for money when both of them have a lot of money. But they did put in a lot of work, and they paid for the whole setup of the whole thing, which was $1 million. And they were copying something.
But if you have $2 billion in your Oprah Winfrey and you put $1 million, that'd be me like being like, hey, you want like $30?
Right. Yeah. Because we're not talking about
$30 into it. So
right, and we're not talking about a sustained problem that needs worked on forever either. This was a certain amount of people that need a certain amount of money to get through this crisis, and they probably could have fit the bill. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, they were using their notoriety and fame to just attract.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Yeah. I haven't cancel cultured my girl Oprah. Oprah has like...
Maybe it wasn't the best idea, but also wasn't that terrible of an idea.
Yeah. She's led me through some hardships. You know, like she's got some great resources. She has made an impression in this world like anyone that... I mean, really, she's fucking Oprah. Like you just say Oprah and people are like, oh my God. But like...
I think the mistake was very simple, actually. I think they just spoke to the wrong audience because they wanted to put it out to as many people as possible. It really needed to go directly to their network and their friends of people that have expendable income and lots of extra money. You know, maybe they could have got together with 500 or 1,000 people that they know that's on the very high end of middle class. They could have solved this problem. Mm-hmm. So because it's possible they could have done that, it really made people lose their minds and be like, why don't you just can pay for it? Instead of ask me for my money, I just worked overtime for it. I can't even buy groceries for my kids. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure it made a lot of people feel a little weird. How did you feel about it?
I got sucked in for a second and I started going over... So what I like to do is I like to read it, and then I like to read the comments, and then I just kind of like to see like what other people have to say, because I'm going to say it again. I swear, please don't name this one Harry Potter. Okay. We went to this Harry Potter thing, and a lot of people knew a lot of stuff that I had no idea what was going on. Some people live for this shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people live for this argument.
There were teams getting perfect scores on extremely obscure questions.
So what I'm saying is that I look at the comments because in every like big thing, there's always someone that has the gumption and the time to sit there and research certain things, and you kind of have to pick out if they're telling the truth or not.
That gets difficult.
You know what I mean? So like, okay, like what are the reasons? So I even go as far to reading the comments and how like the grammar, like, you know, what they're, if it's like persuasive
That's
or
right,
just factual, like, you know, like I'm trying to just really understand what this person is trying to accomplish. And if they're not trying to accomplish being right, but just saying something, I'm like, okay. So then sometimes I'll even click on them and then I'll explore their content and what they say about other things. Well, it helps me because I'm like, well, where are the resources for what they're saying? Like, how can I figure this out? Like, what type of person is saying this thing, right? And it's just, it's fun for me. But the game for me is not whether I think Oprah Winfrey did a wrong move or if that was the right move, but I kind of want to see like the people who are into this and they are very passionate about it. What are the reasons behind that? It's really just a social experiment for me. Like I'm just kind of observing things socially, and what has all under the umbrella that this has already happened. People are saying certain things. I'm interested to see who actually did do it. Like if there are any comments on there that were like, oh, you know, thank you so much for making this video and blah, blah, blah. Like it's just more fun for me to see responses and reactions out of people because I've been really studying my own responses, reactions.
So you're like checking out the comments and responses like in an objective manner, or an observational manner.
I think you said it best when you said, because I think we had this conversation when I first found it and I was like, whoa, you know, like it's kind of like shocking because it's like, you know, Oprah's been just, I mean, and still it's coming back to Teal Swan, man. Like she has genius things. She's done all of these things. I'm not going to cancel my girl Oprah because I love me some Oprah. The Rock's pretty cool too. He's a funny guy. Like I like his movies, whatever. Like I don't know either of these people on a personal level. So I really don't have.
Yeah, well, and they didn't
anything to
and they
say
didn't
about
do
them.
anything terrible. They asked people for money. People could just say no.
Yeah.
You don't have to lose your fucking mind about it.
Right. But I also get why they did. Like, you know, people, but, you know, okay.
I don't know.
You
disagree with something. What good does it do to lose your mind and and publish an expression about it? Like, I don't know. Do you really think that everybody in the world cares how you feel about it?
Well, I think sometimes too, it's not about the situation. It's where they're at in their life and maybe an experience. Like, one time I frickin'...
Yeah, but why not write it in your diary?
But I stubbed my fucking toe, you know, on a corner piece, and I thought I broke my my pinky toe, and I was pissed off at the corner of the island in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I thought, this isn't about the corner, is it? It's not. You were going too fast. You weren't paying attention. You're pissed off at yourself because you were rushing, and now you've slowed down and you're wasting time and you're pissed off about it, and it's not the corner's fault. You dumb bitch.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like calling myself a dumb bitch. I really don't foresee myself.
I find it useful.
Oh, I do not like calling myself dumb bitch.
I don't
I'm not a dumb bitch. I'm
actually don't talk down to myself, but I will say stuff like that. Like, get your shit together, bro.
Get your shit together. Now, like, I will say that.
You're being an idiot. You're being a pussy. Come on. You know, sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you can take the heat. I'm not there yet. Maybe in my finding my strength and from the light from within. I'm not ready to call myself a dumb bitch. I just, you know, like,
sure,
it's whatever. But okay, back to Oprah.
Yeah.
I love me some Oprah. Mm-hmm. She has changed the lives of millions of people. I mean, really, she has. She does a lot of stuff in a lot of places, and I'm sure, you know,
Africa
whatever.
too, the orphanage and all that, yeah.
Okay, and I think that's great. But what I'm saying is that I think when I said that to you, and I think you said something like, I think she might have lost touch with her audience for a minute. Like she forgot who she was talking to because she lives this life. Like, I mean,
there's no one around Oprah and unless she goes on a humanitarian mission. There's no one around Oprah that doesn't have a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
So she probably lost touch. With the fact that things had changed recently too, costs have been rising, the economy's been falling, people are struggling a little bit, and she might not have been attuned to that. Surely she doesn't live that reality. She hasn't lived in that reality in a very long time, most of her life now. So she's actually done pretty good, I think, at staying humble. Could you imagine being
she grew up in extreme poverty, though. Extreme
but
poverty.
She's also been a multi-millionaire for an extremely long time.
It's because she's a baddie.
It's true. I'm just saying. She doesn't even know how much anything costs, probably.
Yeah, that'd be fucking weird. Could you imagine,
when's the last time you think Oprah's asked, how much is it? Maybe a mansion it's worth asking, but certainly not for any small stuff, probably. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's like super diligent. She's like, well, I can get that 10 cents cheaper. It's possible.
It'd be interesting to know. I don't really know much about Oprah other than I listen to her stuff sometimes, and it feels pretty good. I like her perspective on a lot of things, and I think that she is where she is today because she carries that. Like she's so wise, man. So wise. She's met with had a lot of conversations with a lot of great people.
Be cool to hang out with her.
Yeah, I'd like to see what she has to say. Maybe next week we'll just have her on here and we'll just talk to her about like what's going on.
Yep. I'll call her people.
Call her people, see if, Yeah.
I might be able to make that happen if I just told them we're not going to ask about the Hawaii thing.
Hey, we're not here for Hawaii, okay? We threw a tenner at her thing, $10. So if she could maybe reciprocate coming here and talking to us about a few things that we have been concerned about.
We're not that far from. We can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Fuck it.
Who else would you have?
Who else would I want to talk to?
Yeah.
Like living or dead? Or just living people?
Well, living people would be more possible.
Yeah. Well,
let's do both. Living and dead.
Really, we could have a seance or something and talk to someone.
Could.
Have you seen those people that channel these celestial like beings before? I have to show you this. Have I showed you this before?
No.
Like.
So they have conversations with these dead people.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear their voices, or can you only hear it if you're there? I'm very skeptical of this. It's not through a Ouija board.
A wedgie board. Bashar. This guy does it.
That's a legit name. That person can raise the dead, for sure. Born to raise the dead.
So.
Yes, if you don't prefer it to be in your reality. You
have
to demonstrate through your actions what this reality you prefer would actually be like, where people would automatically do those kinds of things. You have to be the first, foremost living example of the behaviors that belong in the realities you prefer. By being that physical example and demonstrating those behaviors, others will see that. Others who wish to align with the similar kinds of realities, create those kinds of realities for themselves, will see that And they may realize that those are the kinds of behaviors that are representative of those kinds of realities. And you will have given them an opportunity to see through you someone in their preferred reality doing something that represents the kind of reality they prefer. So you become a living example to them, and an example and a solidifier and a crystallizer to yourself by actually undertaking those kinds of actions that are representative of the reality in the way you would also prefer to see others.
He's talking about like mimicking and consistency in behavior, but he's kind of stretching it a bit.
Well, okay. So do you know what I'm talking about with the channeling though? Like they sit there and then they allow that being, that celestial being, that thing that almost and there's different stories with them, but an older lady does one that is a male thing, but I've heard Bashar before. And
but he talks about like spirits and stuff.
Is it Bashar? I hope that I am pronouncing this correctly. It's just all different types of information and lessons and things like that. And basically they say that they are using their bodies as like the conduit, like the channel for these entities to come through them to teach us lessons so that we can raise our frequency and become a part of this all-knowing, like the what is it, like this like the
collective
consciousness. Maybe I think that, but
something like that.
Anyway. Yeah, and
that's
I'd love to actually sit down after we do this podcast.
I'll listen to it.
I'd like for because I want to find specific ones that I've heard of before, but I do have a couple of friends who have said like, oh yeah, like you got to listen to this. Like this is life changing. Like they're really, and you know, I would think of it almost like a pastor and sermons, but like it's just some sort of message, and they are the messenger for.
It's interesting to me that humans, you know, we do live in some amount of subjective reality, mostly subjective reality probably. And we do create that meaning with narratives, with stories, how we describe what is happening. And it's interesting that it's always described by different groups in different ways. And for me, as a communications person and an English major, like I'm usually translating that into meaning, and a lot of them all mean the same thing, said a different way. But it's interesting to watch them like be at odds with each other, you know, like maybe this countercultural spiritual person and a conservative religious person will be at odds and telling each other how stupid they are and how, you know, incorrect each other are. But if you really look at what they're saying, it's just a different version of the same exact thing. Does it ever look like that to you? Me too. I'm like, you know, you're just telling the same story two different ways. Like,
I think that is super interesting.
You agree. In case you haven't noticed, you guys agree. You're just calling it two different things.
Yeah, when I started like my own like journey of like truth seeking and stuff, I was really worried about like, you know, some of the relationships that I have with people, they are very set in their own, what is it, like dogma, religions, whatever. Like they have a very like, I wouldn't say, I mean, strict, rigid. I don't know. I mean, pick a word, and that's probably what I'm trying to say. But like, they are very set in their ways of their beliefs. And I think for me, that was something that I really aspired. Like, I wanted to find like a belief that was greater than myself, that I felt through and through. Does that make sense? Like I wanted to feel that love, that like, or this
belonging,
this sense of, this sense of this almighty power of God, you know, and a lot of the people that I communicate with and that I talk to, like our outlets are not like, I mean, we don't have a ton of places to choose how we decide to bring that out of us or within us, or, you know, to seek our own truths. There's kind of this Christianity is very saturated here. We have bars and churches. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
And whatever, I think that's great. It's fine. This is the situation. This is the life that I'm living right now. And so by my truth seeking, I was very nervous about sharing what it is that I have found to be very beneficial. And I thought that someone would try to take that away from me. And there's been a few conversations that I've had that people were concerned over my soul, because they thought the devil was coming in to try and get me. And when you're in a healing process to where you're thinking like, oh my God, like, is that really happening to me? Like, there was that concern at the beginning. And now I'm just like, wait a minute. The feeling that I have inside is not to harm myself or to harm other people, and to embrace myself and to embrace other people and to build a connection. You see, like, I don't know where the devil is coming in on that sort. Oh, he's developing what was it, like a false sense to get you into his grip. And I'm thinking, well,
yeah, but I think being judged by a Christian is even more preposterous than being judged by an anonymous hater. Really. I mean, the whole point of Christianity, as far as I can tell, is to...
Well, Christian Catholicism.
Acceptance. And,
yeah.
But those organizations, like all others, can corrupt, and they can become very judgmental, and they can be a moral authority that looks down on people as a group. They're a mob like any other mob sometimes. And some of them aren't.
Well, what I find strange about the whole thing is that some of the best people I know, do practice these things.
Sure.
And it was really inspiring to me to continue searching what was my truth, not into a carbon copy experience that maybe they had. Right? Because the carbon copy,
that's
like,
a good way.
Had different lives.
That's a good way to think of it. Like, the path to becoming a good person is in Christianity. But just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're going to follow that path. And it's not the only path. Like, I feel like if I have to believe something, that's what I believe.
Yeah.
That's there. But you don't get it by default just because you're a Christian.
Well, yoga is Eastern, right?
Yeah.
And I did have a conversation with someone that I really respect, and I ask her questions about things like that just to hear her opinions of them. Not saying it's going to like sway me one direction or the other. When I think of something, I want to hear it from both sides.
Yeah.
Like, because then I'll really have a better understanding of the choices that I make, because I really enjoy yoga, and I do feel like it calms my nerves, and it allows me to relax and to be more present, and to just I'm not as scattered and what is it called? Like erratic? Like, it just very calming to me.
I've noticed it being very useful for you, and it being a very good platform for anyone.
Well, I was talking with this woman that I really respect, and she had mentioned, like, once she realized that because she had practiced yoga for a while and really started doing some like Kundalini stuff, which is like the serpent rising up and, pulling energy from your sphincter, basically like the base of the spine, like and shoots it all the way up. I think even Jordan Peterson said that he did Kundalini awakening or Kundalini yoga when he was feeling some type of way about like the haters on social media and stuff. Like, he kind of did some healing through that. So I just thought it was interesting. But okay.
It's useful.
Okay.
I believe it's useful.
But when she tapped in, she had read a book about like how, these movements mean something. And then she decided, as like a Christian woman, that was not the path that she wanted to take because it made her feel uncomfortable. Sure. And what I thought was cool was that she didn't tell me not to do it. But what I think is most interesting about the whole thing is that I was in a yoga class, and I was instructing a yoga class, and I put something out there, and I had a person that was attending the class come up to me, and she had like tears in her eyes. And what I had said was, you are no longer a child that, has to adapt to the things around them because you don't have any other choice. You're a grown woman. If you now, as the grown adult woman that you are, want to seek answers, do not allow outside things or maybe past things to interfere with your truth seeking. And I said, if you want to go to church, go to church. If you want to go to yoga, go to yoga. If you want to go to a Buddhist temple and study there and learn from as many people that are willing to teach you and share with you their journey and their path, and then pick and choose what it is that you can implement in your life, because you are taking responsibility for where you want to go. So if you've said on, some, like either a social media platform or to a very dear friend that doesn't really forget that you're never going to go to church because church sucks, take that away, release that, let that go. And if you feel called to do that, go and seek your answers, and don't allow anybody or anything that might have happened in your past take that away from you, because you are the designer of your life. Like if you want to go to, what do you call it? Like where do they go? Convent. If you want to go and live in a convent for a month and learn the teachings, if you want to go to a yoga retreat and do that, like no one gets to tell you what you get to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, seek truth from everything and decide for yourself.
That's true. I agree with that. It takes some strength, though, because a lot of those things are set up to be very persuasive. Like, as soon as you get deep into them, I mean, that's how they exist. There are people out there selling fear and making you feel.
That's a good point. I'm just more so like, oh, I pick this and I pick that. And I like to kind of have.
Me too. I could sit through any church of any kind of religion or whatever. I could sit through it and look at it all objectively. I can even decide to feel something about some of it if I want, but it's not going to trick me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I actually went to church with that friend of mine, and I sat there and man, I had tears. I was just so, like, it was a very moving thing. Yeah. But there were some things that were kind of outside of like what I felt was for me. Yeah. Like, now does that make it that's wrong for everyone?
Yeah, right.
Look at me. I'm going to cancel you. It's not really for me.
That's right.
But I think a lot of the stuff that, this pastor or whatever said really resonated with me. It's just there was something, but what was cool about it is that I had to remind myself, okay, you're not a little girl sitting in a church pew with, you have to, feel these things, and this is the way that we think, and everything that they say is going to be exactly. It was more as a woman sitting there and receiving information and allowing, teachings that, this person, I think that the pastor there had been like, what do they call it? Like serving the church? I don't know. Preaching, for, 20 some years. And so he does have a lot of experience, and he's really good at talking to people.
Oh, you can't beat.
He's very comfortable.
You can't beat a good pastor.
Yeah.
They're good at it.
That's
that Joel Osteen guy is really good. I like to listen to his.
Well, it moved me, and it just made me think like, wow, the passion that this person has. And if you take away anything from that, and now, even though I don't say, this is exactly what I am, this is me now, la, 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 la. Like, I'm more so like, what can I bring in? Like.
That's a really good point. Like, not making all those things become beliefs, then feelings, then part of your identity. And then you feel like you need to defend them and make other people wrong if they don't agree. Like, that whole part of it, I think, is problematic, to say the least. But interestingly, I'm pro Christianity, even though I don't think it's for me at all. I've learned in my life that it is for a lot of people, and it makes a lot of sense. and it is just right. And it's very good for society, very good for the culture.
Yeah, I love me some Jesus.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Well, once
really
you get a little
do.
higher up the chain, you get into like the organized part of it. And it's susceptible to mob mentality and corruption, just like any other organization that's trying to generate revenue. So I don't know what happens. I'm not
Right.
but I know enough about the world to know that some of it goes wrong.
I think one of the most interesting things too is that, okay, so I went to this pastor of Christian church, and then I have a woman that I've known for a really long time, and she lived a completely different life. And now every Monday she has her little coffee and she has her Bible, and she does live videos every Monday. And so I'll just hop on there and I listen to what she has to say. And she is very new to like, preaching or what do you call it? Like facilitating like a message. Like she's newer at it, you know,
interpreting the Bible.
Like she's very, I think, by the book. She does a lot of the scriptures and stuff, and then she'll have like a little message on there. But I think to myself, like, okay, like what's great is that it's not that every word that she is saying I believe in. Like, oh, she just changed my life, you know. But what I can look back or look into and listen to her is observe how with the way that you decide that you want to feel, and the more that you pull yourself into something, how it can really change how you're living your life, and what passions that may have not really existed for her. She's entered into this, like she's doing her sermons. She's every Monday, she's got her coffee, and you can just tell she is just overflowing with the love that she has for her newfound. I mean, I don't know if it's newfound, but like for her Christian lifestyle and speaking the word of Jesus and the Bible. And to me, that's inspiring.
It is. And it does make people do amazing things for other people and for their community. And you'll never see anybody showing up for people more than good Christians, strangers, people in their church. I mean, go to any funeral, man. Who made all the food?
Yeah.
It's like some Christian ladies, usually older ladies anymore, but people, you don't even have to know them.
Yeah.
Those are great people.
Yeah.
And I think Christianity is a great, simple path to being a good person regularly. And it's a good ritual for people, especially if people don't want to deal with like existential and philosophical ideas often, and they don't want to deal with the possibility they could be wrong about things, and they have the responsibility of figuring out the universe. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody should be doing that.
Yeah. So
for them, excellent.
I think it's a church, and any gathering around here, it's Christian or Catholic, like that sort of.
Yeah.
It's a great check-in. It's a great check-in, and it's a good way of hearing a message, from this amazing book, that was written beautifully and has all of these life lessons in it that you could study for your entire life, and it has all these amazing messages in it. But what I think is cool about it is that you can check in like every week, and I'd like to say like the message is the intention. Like when you hear the message, then you can set an intention of, or what you want to manifest in your life during that next week. And then you continue to do that over and over and over again, throughout. It makes it like a disciplined routine of ceremony in your life to keep you on task for the things that you want to do. And that's why I was telling those, I mostly work with women, but like the women in that yoga class that day that, if you want answers, like don't be afraid to like go and seek out answers. And it doesn't matter. Like I have a girlfriend of mine, and, she said, I was an atheist and now I'm going to church. And she's like, I kind of feel like a hypocrite. I'm like, no, You're not a hypocrite.
Change your mind.
No one gets to say that to you.
Yeah.
If you want to change your mind, you change your mind and you go to church.
Yeah, that's a great thing to notice. There's two things to notice that we seem to pretend aren't true. One is all of us screw up all the time. We're all pretending like that doesn't happen now, canceling each other for it, pulling up people's mistakes from 10 years ago like it's them now. You know, we all screw up. And the other thing to remember is all of our ideas are changing and growing with us. And we know that's happening, and the old ones are bad. I think we've talked about this before. I always repeat this because no one looks back on themselves when you were like 12 or 24 or whatever and thinks, well, I was way smarter then. My ideas were better then. I actually knew everything then, and now I'm dumber. That's not what you think. Like, of course, you get more experience, more education, especially experience with other people, and your ideas can improve.
Yeah.
And you can change. And in fact, you have to, or you're stuck forever. So, yeah. I think we should all just be super supportive of people being like, yeah, you know, I screwed up and I had a bad idea about life. So now I'm going to stop screwing up and I'm going to try to find some better ideas. People should be like, yeah, man, me too.
Yeah.
Because I know it's true for everyone.
And I think too, allowing people to get there now, obviously their minds and bodies and spirits and people live different lives. Like everybody kind of has like this different approach or like everyone has their own journey. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are some people need certain things at certain times that others would like. There's a spectrum. Right. So there's a spectrum of people of like, you know, where they're at in their life
right.
and where they're at in the comfort and where they're, you know, willing to go or the capabilities or strengths or resources or whatever. Like you can go, the list is forever. But I think that if we just allowed people to make it in their own way, and I mean this in the best way possible, but I don't like it when I discover something that is helping me and the first thing someone says, whether whatever religion or if they don't have a religion, don't fucking tell me that it's the wrong thing to do. If I am not hurting myself, if I am not hurting others, then allow me to process and to walk the path that I need to walk to get to where I'm going. Because if I run into something bad, then I know that it's a mistake and then I can change course. Or if it's something that I feel really good about and I'm not hurting myself, I'm not hurting other people, and it's growing me in some sort of way, let me go into that. Does that make sense? Like I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, like they're ruining it for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's happening a lot online. You could say any positive thing and somebody's going to comment, that's stupid because of this.
Because at the end of the day, I'm happy for you. Like I'm happy for you and what you're learning and what you're, you know, like, you know.
And you never know. It could be anything for anyone differently. Like for someone, it could just be like they learned Kung Fu and that's all the answers they ever needed.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're great.
I'm not going to be like, hey, you know, you really should come to yoga because I'm a yoga instructor.
Yeah, and it's better than your Kung
Fu
Fu.
is not as, you're not going to really heal your fascial tissues with Kung Fu.
It's too violent.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
I agree. You got to look at the results instead of like your beliefs. Mm-hmm. Like just because something works for you doesn't mean, what is that confirmation bias? As people, we believe, like psychologically, we function in a way that we have to make other people understand and believe what we have decided. It's a bad habit we have. It's not a habit, it's a drive, I think, but it's a weird thing we do that's not, maybe it is useful and I don't understand it, but it seems more harmful than useful.
Yeah, I kind of, like, I definitely could point a few fingers at myself right now. I don't even know what the expression is,
Yeah.
but like I can turn that back on me because I have really seen the benefits of the practices that I've been doing, and some of the people that I, surround myself with or that I, interact with on a day-to-day basis. I see them struggling in the same ways that I did. And so sometimes most of the times, oftentimes I have to tell myself they haven't heard the call. So when they were teaching us like these practices, when I went and did this studying, this like really intense studying, they're like, okay, we're going to teach you how to integrate this into, or these practices into your modern life. I really thought that it was going to be longer, like a longer lesson of how the integration process was supposed to be, but it was very short. And I thought,
Shit, that's the hardest part.
I'm ready. Yeah. Maybe we could have spent a whole week on this, but, but they put it very simply, like the women that I was learning from, they put it in a way of, if they haven't heard the call, don't scream it in their face. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And like I didn't really understand.
Oh, like if they're not asking for help, then
if
they're not going to hear you.
So if they're not asking for how I feel about things.
Sure, that's good advice in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see it
delivering
now.
unsolicited advice requires a lot of persuasion.
Yeah.
But if you just wait until someone asks you for advice, then there's no persuasion necessary.
Which I found a couple of years ago, there was someone that I had, a young person that I had worked with, and they were very young in comparison to everybody else at work. And when people would say, oh man, my knee hurts, she'd immediately say, have you drank water? They're like, oh, my stomach hurts. Have you drank water? And I remember one day, someone had said, oh my gosh, my head's killing me and my back hurts. She's like, have you drank water? And this woman who's a friend of mine just turns around. She said, if you don't shut the fuck up about drinking water, she goes, you know what? Not everybody needs to hear okay, let me register how much fucking water I've drank today because nobody gives a fuck. Maybe we just want to fucking complain about our heads hurting and our backs hurt. Shut the fuck up. And I'm going, okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. But it is true. Have you drank any water? I mean, that is the truth.
Yeah.
But like you see, like they didn't hear the call to drink the water. Don't be the drink the water
They didn't
gal.
ask.
So sometimes when my friends are complaining or people that I love and I care about don't know how to manage their emotions or having a minty bee in the fucking closet.
That's so
I don't
hard.
want to be the bitch that's like, have you drank your water? Like, shut up.
Have you done your yoga?
Like, yeah. Have you?
Yeah. Have you been to church lately?
Yeah.
I've heard that plenty of times in the Midwest
yeah.
in my life.
And so I'm like, don't be the
Right.
It's because it was kind
though.
of fucking annoying, really.
It is tough though when you have something that works. It's a good solution. It's tough not to share it, and then even if your intentions are good, though, it could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's hard for me as a man, especially in my family. I screw this up a lot. A lot of my role I play is to provide solutions and fix things, and I miss a lot of opportunities to just listen or be a cheerleader because it's very hard to not be like logical and solution based. And sometimes I'll start delivering a solution like they don't want to hear that right now. I can tell.
No. Well, one of our good friends is now telling his wife, and he was just kind of, because we've had conversations like this with them, but he said, well, what I do now is I say, would you like to just vent, or are you looking for me to tell you like a solution? And then his wife will say, well, I just want you to hear. And he's like, okay, I can do that, but I think that's really like an amazing, like I'm very proud of him for coming up with that. Like, do you just want me to listen to you, bitch? Or are we trying to find a solution here? And I think it's sweet that he can do that, especially as early on. I mean, you and I kind of have this understanding, but we've been together almost 14 years. So like, obviously, like you could move a certain way and I'm like, oh, his shoulder hurts. You know what I mean? Like I just know you so well. But for people that I've only been together like, you know, a year or two, like that's a pretty cool thing to come together and figure out.
That's so smart. I'm going to steal that.
But I think too that saying it in a way where he's not being sarcastic to her, like he's not like trying to make her feel like a nutty gal. Like he really wants to know like what he can do for her. And I think when it comes from that sort of place, like it really has put like this, okay, then she can decide, you know, and then maybe by what do you call it? Like, giving her the choice, then she can say it and then she can change her mind after he's been holding space and listening to her, that they can create a solution together. So it's pretty cool.
That's smart. I'm definitely stealing that.
Yeah.
Nice. I think I've done something similar to that. There's sometimes when I get frustrated, because I'm trying to do or say the right thing or whatever. So if I get frustrated, I think a few times I've said, what is it exactly that you want me to do here?
Yeah, you do that. And
and not in a dickhead way. At least I try not to. Maybe there's some frustration in my voice, but I'm like, okay, you tell me and I'll do it.
I like it when you ask me, you say, what is the result that you want? And that one always is like a huge zinger for me. I'm like, shit, what is the result that I want? You know, I almost like, what's the result that you want in a certain kind of way, probably more so than I would do you want to vent or do you want to create a solution? You know, because it kind of has to be delivered in a really good way. But sometimes when you tell me like, what's the result that you want? I'm like, okay. Like,
yeah, I do say that a lot. And I mean that like genuinely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if I can at all make it possible, I will make it possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also think too, like in really intense situations where I feel like I'm just, I have lost control of managing all of my emotions. Your reductive sayings or quick quips or something, like it always brings me back into like it's not that big a deal. I had 472 words that I just said and he just made me feel better with four words. That's it. That's all I needed. That's what it was.
Emotions do have a way of feeling very complicated. Mm-hmm. They sure do. They make everything feel complicated. It's cool to have an objective person around. That's something that might be getting lost in culture too. Just some friend near you that's not involved in the feelings, that's willing to tell you like, whoa, you've just blown this out of the water, bro. It's not that deep.
That's really a huge thing. I mean, a big reason I love you so much is that you don't just agree with me to agree with me. Like if you do not agree with the things that I'm saying, you say it. Like we have discussions.
Yeah.
Like we don't have screaming matches. We don't yell at each other.
While I don't always agree with you, I also don't always feel compelled to convince you that you're wrong.
Yes.
Like I know that I could be wrong. So I'm not compelled to change your mind. Mm-hmm. I like that we're different people too. Mm-hmm. I like that we think different things. I don't want a female version of me living in my house. You know what I mean?
You tell me that often. Because I'm like, I wish I could. You're just like so smart. And you read dusty ass big books that don't even have pictures in it. And you're just cool. You know, or you can play instruments.
I think you're cool.
And read like big things and then you know what's going on and
maybe that's
you know
the
how
secret.
To file our taxes and I don't even know how to do that. Like
maybe that's the secret.
You're an adult.
Is that both people in a relationship think the other person's cooler than them. That both people feel super lucky.
Okay, this is your time that you're supposed to like name off a bunch of things that I'm really good at.
I do think you're really cool.
Like a lot of name
Cooler
a
than
lot
me.
of things that I do.
You're remarkable at lightening the mood and socializing and drawing people together. And I'm particularly in love with your sense of, like, your motivation and your sense of like art and decorating and making our home feel a certain way and change it often. I love that you change stuff often because I'm not like that. I'm rigid. Like, my house would probably have stayed the same the first way I put it. Just, I have no idea why, but it's so great when I come home and you're like, yeah, I moved everything. This is how we do it now. I'm like, sweet. New great adventure.
Yeah. I do a lot more than that. I thought those were probably like C+ type things that I do, but I appreciate you saying that to me. But I think there's
What do you do well that's important to you?
better things you could have said.
What do you do well that's important to you?
What? Okay, say that. What do I do well?
Like,
that
what's on your mind?
Well, it was supposed to come from you.
I know. I was just curious what you thought was like at the top of that hierarchy. There are a lot of things.
I would say my creativity and being able to live life. I don't know. Like, I think that I have a really interesting perspective of life in general, as in like trying new things, and my sense of empathy for others, my forgiveness for people I care about and people I don't care about.
You're so kind.
I do. I have a lot of kindness, and I feel like I'm pretty organized and considerate, and I feel like I'm a really great connector into like nurturing. I'm very compassionate.
It's true.
I'm an awesome cook. I'm a hard worker. I'm a hustling ass bitch. Like, I make that money.
Don't forget, like, this world is a competition out there. I'm not trying to sell you too hard.
No, what I'm saying is I have a lot of different qualities.
Do you want to know my favorite
I'm
one?
a boss ass bitch. Really, I am.
I agree. You know what one of my favorite ones is? I haven't thought about in a long time. It's sort of, it's a base level thing that extends into everything else, but your willingness, more than a willingness, your voluntary engagement in change and your aggressive ability to like make things happen, to make things change. Not only are you capable of change, you adapt to it very well. You encourage it and you make change happen often. I like that about you. Keeps things interesting.
I'm very inclusive. I'm humble.
Not at all self-interested.
I take care of myself.
You do.
I really do. I
didn't mean that to sound like a question. I was agreeing with you.
You do.
You do?
No, I take care of me and mines. Does that make sense? Like, I like to take care of you. I like to take care of our children.
You're very supportive, loyalty in that type of way.
I'm very loyal. I swear on I am a very loyal individual.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're going to cut the last like 5 minutes out because I'm like, no, I had to kind of warm up, and now I'm like, God, what all is there about me? There's so much. There is so much.
I'll edit it to where it just sounded like you were firing them off.
Oh yeah. Just one after the
so
other.
was I.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love you.
I love you too. We are a funny pair. Do you want to go eat some lunch?
Yes, do it.
Okay.
It was good talking to you today.
I know. I liked our conversation. It makes me feel kind of strange when we start talking about like religion.
I know. I'm looking forward to the burning crosses in our yard and shit or whatever.
No, I don't think that. But I really don't feel like there's any part of us that...
Listen, I am fair. and I'm thoughtful and empathetic for what's important to other people, and I don't infringe upon them. So, if anybody doesn't like me talking about something that way, it's very clear to me that it's a problem with them, not a problem with me.
I don't want to look at anything and think that I am for or against it when it comes to spirituality or religion. I want to invite any knowledge and wisdom, into my life. And so it would be silly to think on any level that I agree or disagree with some sort of something that betters millions of people's lives in any capacity for all these different ways to heal yourself. So I'm probably not going to put up with that shit.
There are arguments. For sure.
I'm going to put up with that shit because I'm down.
There are arguments out there that we are wrong and that you should choose. And they have good reasons for that, and I understand them, and I'm not trying to change their mind.
Yeah.
I just want them to disagree with me. But don't try to change my mind either.
Because I don't want to change yours.
Yeah, don't come for me. I mean, you can if you want.
Well, don't come for me because that would make me upset. Dustin just doesn't care.
That's right.
So he's like, oh, well.
Yeah, if you come to burn a bag of poop in my yard, I'm going to go out there and introduce myself to you and try to become your friend.
I would be upset. I don't like smells. Don't burn poop in my doorstep because I will literally throw up. So then I would have to pick up burning poop and throw up, and I'm not in the mood for that. So just know that I support you and you better support me, period. Yeah. No.
I don't mind poop or fire.
Will you, if people do put poop on our porch, will you clean it up?
Of course.
Thanks, babe.
All right. On that note,
flaming bags of poop.
Till next time.
Namaste.